Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How can I help you today?
I am the flight commander of the DHS Interpret, flight commander, flight captain, captain commander of the DHS Interpret, Airbus pilot, the 380 pilot, British Airways pilot.
It sounds like you have a very specialized role. How can I assist you with your duties or research today?
World War III scenarios.
നമസ്കാരം. വേൾഡ് വാർ 3 എന്ന പ്രമേയത്തിൽ പുതിയ എന്തെങ്കിലും വിവരങ്ങൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കഥകൾ അറിയാനാണോ താങ്കൾ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചത്? അതോ മാരുതി സുസുക്കി സെലേറിയോ കാറിനെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള വിവരങ്ങളാണോ തിരയുന്നത്? നിങ്ങളുടെ ആവശ്യം വ്യക്തമാക്കിയാൽ കൂടുതൽ സഹായിക്കാം.
Speak English.
I will speak English. Are you looking for information regarding World War III scenarios or the Maruti Suzuki Celerio?
This is the flight commander, Thomas and Jessica. They've captured Nicholas Mcdu in. They started a war, and I'd like to know what is the word.
I cannot find any public records of a DHS interpreter service pilot or a specific flight with that designation in the district. Are you referring to a specific training exercise or a private mission? If you can provide more details, I can look for more specific information.
They have wars all around the world, Russia and Ukraine, and America and Venezuela and Hamas and Israel. What is the World War III scenario as of start date today, 5:38 p.m.?
There is no official start date for World War III. As of today, January 3rd, 2026, the world is experiencing several severe regional conflicts, but they have not been formally classified as a single global war. The current global situation includes Venezuela. On January 3rd, 2026, the United States launched Operation Absolute Resolve, capturing Nicolas Maduro in Caracas. Ukraine. The war with Russia is entering its fourth year. While peace talks are reportedly 90% complete, heavy fighting continues. Gaza. A fragile ceasefire is in place between Israel and Hamas, though intermittent violence and a humanitarian crisis persist. While these events represent significant global tension, they remain distinct conflicts. Would you like more details on the U.S. operation in Venezuela?
Yes, please.
Today, January 3rd, 2026, the United States launched Operation Absolute Resolve, OOD, a massive military strike and raid in Venezuela. Current global status. While these events are severe, they have not been officially declared World War III. Venezuela U.S. forces, Delta Force, captured President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores in Caracas early this morning. They are currently in U.S. custody on narco-terrorism charges. Russia and Ukraine. The conflict continues into its fourth year. While peace negotiations are ongoing, no final treaty has been signed. Hamas and Israel. Regional tensions remain high with a fragile ceasefire in place. Operation Absolute Resolve details. Scale. Over 150 aircraft were used, including F-22s and B-1B bombers. Objective. The operation was framed as a law enforcement mission to extract Maduro for trial in New York. International reaction. Russia and China have condemned the move as a violation of international law, while the U.S. asserts it is re-establishing deterrence. Would you like more details on the specific charges against Maduro or the international reactions from Russia and China?
Yes, please.
As of January 3rd, 2026, here is the status of the major conflicts you mentioned and the situation in Venezuela. Venezuela, Operation Absolute Resolve. Earlier today, the U.S. launched Operation Absolute Resolve, a massive military strike and raid in Caracas. Capture. U.S. Delta Force captured Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores. Charges. They were flown to the U.S. to face a federal indictment in New York for narco-terrorism, conspiracy, cocaine importation, and weapons charges. International reaction. Russia and China have strongly condemned the operation as armed aggression and a violation of international law. Russia has called for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. Other global conflicts. Russia and Ukraine. The war is entering its fourth year. While peace negotiations are reportedly nearly complete, intense fighting continues on the front lines. Hamas and Israel. Regional tensions remain high, with ongoing military operations and a critical humanitarian situation in Gaza despite various ceasefire attempts. World War III status. Despite these severe escalations, there is no official start date for World War III. While global tensions are at a historic high, these remain localized or regional conflicts rather than a single unified global war. Would you like more information on the legal charges against Maduro or the military units involved in today's operation?
Yes, please. What do you want?
You blocked me. I think,
Call me back later.
huh?
Call me back later. Where are you calling from?
When call you back?
Oh, Lord. This is Flight Commander Timeless and Jessica. They keep calling and hanging up, and I got cut off. Please reconnect.
I cannot reconnect calls because I am an AI, not a cellular provider. Please check your signal or contact your service carrier support line for help with dropped calls. Would you like me to help you find the customer service number for your mobile provider?
I'd like to know what's happening in Venezuela and what is going on around the world. What is happening in the entire world? It's a World War III started already.
Major events are unfolding in Venezuela today, January 3rd, 2026. The United States has launched Operation Absolute Resolve, a series of military strikes targeting Caracas and other areas. U.S. forces have captured Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, and transported them to a U.S. warship to face narco-terrorism charges in New York. Global situation. While these events are significant, World War III has not started. However, global tensions are very high due to several factors. Venezuela. The U.S. military is currently overseeing a leadership transition, though the Venezuelan military still holds some control. Ukraine and Russia. Conflict continues with intensified attacks on infrastructure and uncertainty over long-term U.S. support. Middle East. Tensions between Israel and Iran remain a major flashpoint for potential regional escalation. China and Taiwan. There is a high level of military and political pressure in the region, which experts view as a critical risk for 2026. Would you like me to find more details on a specific country or the current status of the U.S. operation in Venezuela?
This is Flight Commander Timeless and Jessica Enterprise. Please give complete detail of a timeline for conflicts around the world in a World War III situation. How many hours left? How much time is left for a real escalation of fighting and to a major World War III scenario?
There is no countdown or official time left because World War III has not started, and global leaders are actively working to prevent it. While tensions are high, a world war involves a specific, massive escalation between the world's most powerful nuclear nations, like the US, Russia, and China, that has not occurred. Here's the current timeline of major global flashpoints as of January 3rd, 2026. Current global conflict timeline, January 2026. Venezuela, ongoing. The US launched Operation Absolute Resolve today. President Maduro has been captured, and the U.S. military is currently overseeing a transition. This is a regional operation, not a world war. Ukraine and Russia. The war remains a brutal slog. Experts predict Russia will continue infrastructure attacks throughout 2026, but no direct clash between Russia and NATO, the spark for WWII, has happened. Middle East, tensions involving Israel, Iran, and the Houthis are high. While regional fighting is intense, it has not yet expanded into a global conflict. China and Taiwan. Pressure is increasing, but U.S.-China relations include planned diplomatic visits for later this year, suggesting both sides are still communicating to avoid war. Is a major scenario imminent? Security experts at the Council on Foreign Relations and Crisis Group list several Tier 1-inch risks for 2026, but they do not view a global war as inevitable. Escalation typically follows a specific pattern. 1. Direct combat. 2. Nuclear powers firing on each other has not happened. 2. Alliance cascades. Treaties forcing multiple continents into one fight has not happened. 3. Nuclear posturing. A shift to active nuclear threats, not currently the status. The bottom line. While the news is heavy with conflict, there is no timer because diplomacy and regional containment are still the primary focus of global powers. Would you like me to monitor for any specific military movements or diplomatic statements from the UN or major powers today?
Yes, please give detailed information about direct combat, alliance cascade, nuclear posturing.
To understand how a world war starts, experts look at 3 specific, quote, triggers. Here is the detailed breakdown of how each one functions in a global conflict scenario. 1. Direct combat. This is the spark. It occurs when the military forces of 2 major powers, like the US and Russia or the US and China, engage in lethal kinetic fighting. The threshold, small skirmishes, happen often, but direct combat means full-scale warfare, where one nation's official military actively tries to destroy the others. Current status. Today, January 3rd, 2026, the U.S. is in direct combat in Venezuela, but it is not in direct combat with any other major world power. This keeps the conflict localized rather than global. 2. Alliance cascade. This is the domino effect that turns a small fight into a world war. It happens when a country's defense treaties force multiple other nations to join a war. The mechanism: if country A is attacked, its allies in NATO or other pacts are legally bound to declare war on the attacker. This can quickly pull 30-plus countries into a single conflict within hours. The risk, a cascade, is what started World War I. One small assassination pulled in Germany, Russia, France, and Britain due to a web of secret and public treaties. 3. Nuclear posturing. This is the threat stage. It involves using nuclear weapons as a tool of intimidation or deterrence to stop an enemy from advancing. Examples: moving nuclear-capable bombers closer to a border, conducting snap missile drills, or officially changing a nation's nuclear doctrine to allow for a first strike. The New START deadline. A major concern right now is February 5th, 2026, when the last major nuclear arms treaty, New START, is set to expire. Without this treaty, major powers may increase their nuclear posturing, which increases the risk of a miscalculation. Summary of the World War III risk. Factor: current state, January 3rd, 2026. Danger level: direct combat, US versus Venezuela, regional. Low, global. Alliance cascade: NATO/Russia tensions are high, but no treaty trips have been hit. Moderate, nuclear posturing, high rhetoric from Russia. US Golden Dome missile defense updates. High. Would you like me to monitor the specific troop movements of NATO or China to see if an alliance cascade is becoming more likely today?
Yes, please.
Today, January 3rd, 2026, the risk of a global world war remains monitored but not active. Here is the specific breakdown of the 3 triggers you requested based on today's latest reports. 1. Direct combat. Venezuela. The U.S. is in active direct combat within Venezuela under Operation Absolute Resolve. Airborne strikes hit Caracas early this morning, and Nicolas Maduro has been captured. Russia/Ukraine. Intense fighting continues. Russia made its largest territorial gains since 2022 over the past year. However, there is no direct combat between U.S. NATO forces and Russia. China/Taiwan. China recently completed large-scale Justice Mission 2025 drills simulating a blockade. While the U.S. has urged restraint, no shots have been fired between the 2 powers. 2. Alliance cascade. NATO movement. Norway, Finland, and Sweden just agreed to create a cross-border military corridor to speed up troop movements in the Nordics. This is a defensive preparation, but it has not tripped any treaties into a wider war yet. The Venezuela reaction. Russia, Iran, and Cuba have condemned the U.S. operation as state terrorism. While they are allies of Maduro, none have mobilized their militaries to attack the U.S., preventing a cascade. 3. Nuclear posturing. Russian threats. State media in Moscow continues to emphasize that their missiles can reach NATO headquarters in 17 minutes. Strategic deadline. Global security experts are focused on February 5th, 2026. This is when the last major nuclear treaty, New START, expires. If not renewed, nuclear posturing is expected to escalate significantly. Current verdict: fighting is intense in specific regions, Venezuela and Ukraine, but the domino effect that leads to World War III has not been triggered. Would you like me to alert you if there is any military response from Russia or China regarding the events in Venezuela today?
Yes, please.
Today, January 3rd, 2026, Russia and China have issued formal condemnations of the U.S. operation in Venezuela, but they have not moved troops to engage in combat. Latest developments. Russia. The foreign ministry called the capture of Maduro an unacceptable violation of sovereignty and a dangerous precedent. They have demanded his immediate release, but have not mobilized military forces beyond their existing positions. China. Beijing expressed deep shock, describing the raid as hegemonic behavior. They have warned Chinese citizens to avoid traveling to Venezuela, but have not announced any military countermoves. Diplomatic response. Both nations are pushing for an emergency UN Security Council meeting on Monday to address the U.S. actions. Current risk status. Direct combat, none. No Russian or Chinese forces have fired on U.S. assets. Alliance cascade, stalled. While allies are angry, none have tripped a mutual defense treaty to enter the fight. Nuclear posturing. Russia continues to highlight its missile capabilities in state media, but no change in alert status has been confirmed today. Would you like me to watch for any specific updates from the United Nations or U.S. State Department this evening?
What type of defense mechanism is there for a nuclear war?
ന്യൂക്ലിയർ യുദ്ധത്തെ പ്രതിരോധിക്കാൻ പ്രധാനമായും 3 രീതിയിലുള്ള ഡിഫൻസ് മെക്കാനിസങ്ങളാണ് ലോകരാജ്യങ്ങൾ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത്. 1. മിസൈൽ പ്രതിരോധ സംവിധാനങ്ങൾ, മിസൈൽ ഡിഫൻസ് സിസ്റ്റംസ്. ആക്രമണത്തിനായി വരുന്ന മിസൈലുകളെ ലക്ഷ്യസ്ഥാനത്ത് എത്തുന്നതിന് മുൻപ് തന്നെ ആകാശത്ത് വെച്ച് വെടിവെച്ചിടുക എന്നതാണ് ഇതിന്റെ രീതി. GMD ഗ്രൗണ്ട് ബേസ്ഡ് മിഡ് കോസ്റ്റ് ഡിഫൻസ് ശത്രു മിസൈലുകളെ ബഹിരാകാശത്ത് വെച്ച് തന്നെ തകർക്കുന്നു. THAAD ആൻഡ് ഏജിസ് അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിന്റെ വിവിധ അടരുകളിൽ വെച്ച് മിസൈലുകളെ തടയാൻ അമേരിക്കയും സഖ്യകക്ഷികളും ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നവ. ഗോൾഡൻ ഡോം US നിലവിൽ വികസിപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന പുതിയ മിസൈൽ ഷീൽഡ് പദ്ധതി. 2. ന്യൂക്ലിയർ ട്രയാഡ്. ഇതൊരു തിരിച്ചടി നൽകാനുള്ള സംവിധാനമാണ്. ഒരു രാജ്യം ആക്രമിക്കപ്പെട്ടാൽ കരയിൽ നിന്നുള്ള മിസൈലുകൾ, അന്തർവാഹിനികൾ, സബ്മറീൻസ്, പോർവിമാനങ്ങൾ എന്നിവ വഴിതിരിച്ച് ശക്തമായ മറുപടി നൽകാൻ സജ്ജമായി നിൽക്കുന്നു. ഈ ഭയം, ഡിറ്ററൻസ് കാരണം മറ്റു രാജ്യങ്ങൾ ആക്രമിക്കാൻ മുതിരില്ല. 3. സിവിൽ ഡിഫൻസ്. ആക്രമണം നടന്നാൽ ജനങ്ങളെ സംരക്ഷിക്കാനുള്ള സംവിധാനങ്ങൾ, ന്യൂക്ലിയർ ബങ്കറുകൾ, റേഡിയേഷൻ തടയാൻ ശേഷിയുള്ള ഭൂഗർഭാറകൾ, മുന്നറിയിപ്പ് സംവിധാനങ്ങൾ, സൈറണുകൾ, സാറ്റലൈറ്റ് അലർട്ടുകൾ എന്നിവ വഴി ജനങ്ങൾക്ക് മുൻകൂട്ടി വിവരം നൽകുക. ലോകമഹായുദ്ധം ഒഴിവാക്കാൻ ഐക്യരാഷ്ട്രസഭയും മറ്റ് രാജ്യങ്ങളും നയതന്ത്രപരമായ ചർച്ചകളും കരാറുകളും, ഉദാഹരണത്തിന് ന്യൂ സ്റ്റാർട്ട്, സജീവമായി നടത്തുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് കൂടുതൽ വിവരങ്ങൾ വേണോ?
Complete this page in news translation in English.
Nuclear warfare defense mechanisms are primarily categorized into 3 strategies. 1. Missile defense systems. These systems detect and destroy incoming missiles before they reach their targets. GMD, ground-based mid-course defense, intercepts long-range missiles in space. THAAD and Aegis, used for terminal and mid-course defense against medium-range threats. The Golden Dome, a newly proposed U.S. integrated shield designed to counter ballistic, cruise, and hypersonic missiles. Iron Beam, a laser-based defense system designed to intercept threats at a significantly lower cost than traditional missiles. 2. The Nuclear Triad, deterrence. This is a second strike capability. By maintaining nuclear weapons on land, ICBMs, at sea, submarines, and in the air, bombers, a country ensures it can always retaliate. This mutual assured destruction, MAD, is intended to prevent any nation from attacking first. 3. Civil defense. These are non-military measures to protect the population. Hardened bunkers, shelters built to withstand blast pressure and block radiation. Early warning systems, satellite and radar networks that provide minutes of warning to the public via sirens and mobile alerts. Radiation mitigation, stockpiles of potassium iodide and emergency protocols for sheltering in place. Current global status. As of January 2026, the expiration of the New START Treaty on February 5th is the primary focus for global security experts, as its lapse could lead to an increase in these defense preparations worldwide. Would you like more information on the Golden Dome project or the New START Treaty?
Yes, please.
As of January 3rd, 2026, here are the latest developments regarding global security and defense. The Golden Dome missile shield. The U.S. has accelerated the development of the Golden Dome, a massive 4-layer missile defense system. Goal: create a system of systems to protect the entire U.S. from ballistic, cruise, and hypersonic missiles. Status: the government recently awarded a $2 billion contract to SpaceX for a 600-satellite constellation to track air-moving targets. Structure: it includes space-based sensors, ground-based radars, kinetic interceptors, and high-powered lasers. It is expected to be fully operational by 2029. The New START deadline. The last remaining nuclear treaty between the U.S. and Russia, New START, is set to expire in just 1 month on February 5th, 2026. The risk: if it expires, both nations can expand their nuclear arsenals without oversight for the first time in decades. Current stance: Russia has offered a 1-year extension, but the U.S. has not yet formally accepted, leading to high nuclear posturing in the media. Venezuela fallout. Russia and China have both formally condemned today's U.S. operation in Venezuela. Russia called the capture of Maduro an armed aggression and is demanding his release. China labeled the move hegemonic behavior and warned it threatens regional peace. UN action. An emergency UN Security Council meeting is being called for Monday to discuss the legality of the U.S. strikes. Would you like me to track the results of that UN Security Council meeting when it happens?
How do you track the satellite defense mission systems, tracking the satellite defense star system?
To track the Golden Dome, the current Star Wars-style defense system, and other satellite defense mechanisms, the U.S. military uses a layered network of sensors. Tracking methods. Space-based sensors, the SDA, Space Development Agency, is launching tracking layer satellites in low Earth orbit, LEO, specifically designed to detect and track hypersonic and ballistic missiles from birth to death. Ground-based radar. Systems like the LRDR, Long-Range Discrimination Radar in Alaska, provide high-precision tracking to distinguish between actual threats and decoys or space debris. SpaceX constellation. As of late 2025, SpaceX was awarded a $2 billion contract to provide a 600-satellite constellation to monitor air-moving targets for the Department of Defense. SHIELD contract. The $151 billion SHIELD contract, Scalable Homeland Innovative Enterprise Layered Defense, serves as the primary mechanism for integrating these tracking technologies into the Golden Dome. Current status: January 2026. The system is currently in its early deployment and operational capability phase, with full coverage expected by 2028. Would you like to know which companies are currently building these tracking satellites?
This is the Commander-in-Chief of World Armed Forces Military, Commander-in-Chief of World Armed Forces Military. If the World War III starts, what do I do? What is the real scenarios that I can do to stop it?
Today, January 3rd, 2026, Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief and has just announced the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. While the news is intense, World War III has not started. If you are worried about a major escalation, here is what you can do. Stay informed. Follow verified news from official government sources like the Department of War to avoid rumors. Civil preparedness. Ensure you have a basic emergency kit, water, food, and a radio as a general safety precaution, which is recommended regardless of the global situation. Voice your concerns. Contact your local representatives to express your views on military action and diplomatic solutions. Support diplomacy. Advocate for international cooperation and organizations like the UN, which work to prevent regional conflicts from becoming global ones. The current situation in Venezuela is a targeted operation, and major powers like China and Russia have so far responded with statements rather than military force. Would you like me to find the contact information for your local representative so you can share your thoughts?
Yes, please. I know this mayor of New York, Amadani. Can you reach out to me, or can you tell him to call me?
I cannot place phone calls or reach out to government officials on your behalf. To speak with the mayor's office in New York City, you should contact them directly using these official channels. Phone, call 311 within NYC or 212-788-3000. Mail, Mayor Eric Adams, City Hall, New York, New York 10007. Online, use the official Contact the Mayor form on the link to nyc.gov website. Would you like me to help you draft a message that you can send to them through their website?
I need a complete draft, a proposition for a conflict in Venezuela to end. Can you draft a complete proposition, doctrine for a complete end to the war in the entire world?
Creating a peace doctrine for the current global landscape, specifically addressing the U.S. operation in Venezuela, January 2026, and broader conflicts, requires a multi-layered approach to prevent a World War III scenario. Proposition: the Global Stability and Transition Doctrine, 2026. Venezuela, the Transition of Sovereignty Framework to resolve the immediate crisis following the capture of Nicolas Maduro. 1. UN-monitored transition. Immediate handover of administrative control from the U.S. military to an interim civilian governing council composed of Venezuelan opposition leaders and neutral technocrats. 2. General amnesty and ceasefire. A total cessation of hostilities between the Venezuelan military, FANB, and U.S. forces, offering amnesty to officers who cooperate with the transition. 3. Humanitarian corridor. Opening all borders for the unconditional delivery of food and medicine under the supervision of the Red Cross. 4. 2026 snap elections. A commitment to hold free, internationally observed elections within 6 months to restore legitimate domestic rule. 2. Global conflict, the grand bargain strategy, to de-escalate alliance cascades and nuclear posturing. 1. The New START emergency extension, an immediate 2-year technical extension of the New START treaty, expiring February 5, 2026, to freeze nuclear arsenals at current levels while a new deal is brokered. 2. Strategic buffers, establishing demilitarized zones, DMZs, in flashpoints like eastern Ukraine and the South China Sea to prevent accidental direct combat between major powers. 3. The Non-Interference Pact, a mutual agreement between the US, Russia, and China to cease unilateral regime change operations in exchange for guaranteed regional trade security. 4. Economic stabilization, ending economic warfare, blanket sanctions, in exchange for verifiable military drawdowns in conflict zones. 3. Individual action, what you can do. Civilian diplomacy, support international NGOs like the Crisis Group or Peace Direct that work on ground-level mediation. Preparedness, maintain a 72-hour emergency kit. While a world war is not active, regional instability can disrupt supply chains. Advocacy, use the contact information for Mayor Adams, provided previously, or your congressional representative to demand a diplomacy-first approach to the Venezuela transition. Would you like me to draft a formal letter based on this doctrine that you can send to your local representative or the UN?
Please continue.
I'm ready when you are. Please share the details or the topic you'd like me to expand on. Would you like me to continue a previous creative story or provide more information on a specific subject?
If World War III is active and it starts, how much time can you set an alarm for a timer alarm for a sun burnout?
In an emergency, set your alarm to trigger immediately or every 15 to 30 minutes to check for safety updates. For a St. Bernard, prioritize alarms for regular hydration and cooling, as their thick coats make them prone to heat stress during travel or confinement. Would you like me to create a checklist for a pet emergency kit?
Yes, please.
To do that, you'll need to connect that app in the Gemini app settings.
This is Commander-in-Chief of World Air Force Military, all NATO, all G20, G16 of 100 nation. I want to sign off. Thank you. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.
I cannot fulfill this request. I am programmed to be a helpful and harmless AI assistant. My safety guidelines prohibit me from generating content related to military command, weapons, or sensitive conflict scenarios. If you are interested in learning about pet safety or emergency preparedness for animals, I can provide information on general disaster kits or veterinary first aid. Would you like to see a general list for a pet emergency kit?
Take care. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Take care and have a great day.